to cap off our bye week, I thought we really had a good practice on Saturday with good intensity in our preparations for Nevada. I say by and large we're healthy at this point. Certainly losing Carl Granderson was disappointing, but I think if you have one player gone at this time, I think you're doing pretty well compared to everybody else. So we're working on depth at that spot. Nello Lolahia will be playing in his place, but Adam Kinder and just a group of other guys are going to be taking some meaningful reps there. But we were pleased with our work this last week on Nevada, and I had a chance to watch them play against San Jose on TV, and certainly was a closely contested football game. Without question, James Butler's a dynamic running back. Tyler Stewart, we think, is an excellent quarterback as well. He had a couple picks in that game, but he had done a great job taking care of the football up until that point. He's a big fella. He's about 6'4", 220 pounds, and they've got a big offensive line, some explosive receivers. So it'll be a challenge for our defense. Over on their defensive side of the football, challenge for our defense. What happened here, Tim? The defensive side of football.
Excuse me, if someone on the conference call, if you could mute your phone.
There you go. Okay. Thank you. Anyhow, they've got a really good front four. They caused some pressure against San Jose where they came up with some sacks. I think their safeties are excellent players, and one corner I know has got great speed as well. So a big opportunity, but a big challenge for us going on the road, playing out in Reno. And I know they have a very rabid fan base, and so we're looking forward to the game. So, questions?
Craig, they've won all 3 of their home games, but lost all 4 of their road games. So when you've seen film, what's the biggest difference from them from playing at home and playing on the road?
Well, I think some of it is their fan base. I know that they really enjoy playing at home. They're rabid, play with a great deal of energy, and I'm sure their players play with a lot more confidence, and that's a step for us. We were able to defeat CSU on the road, but in the past we've had our challenges, and so with the young football team, it's going to be important for us to take another step. They're a 3-4 football team. We're a 4-2 football team, so you've got 2 fairly evenly matched teams on the road, and a great opportunity, but a great challenge.
Coach, with Butler, 1,000-yard back last year, what makes him a difficult guy to go up against?
I think he's got a great first of all, they've got a really good offensive line and a good scheme that features his skills. And he's got good speed, and he's also a strong guy. He's not a scat back. He's a guy that's got good speed, but he can break tackles, and he's pretty elusive.
So following up on that, what do you see out of their offensive line that maybe creates some of those holes for Butler?
What they do very well. They come off the ball. They do a great job of zone blocking and create some seams. And I think those backs, particularly Butler's got really good vision to find the open space.
You mentioned Nell and Adam there at that defensive end spot. Do you anticipate them getting equal reps, or Nell probably the majority of them, or how do you kind of anticipate the rotation?
Right now, Nell will take the lion's share of those reps, and we're still looking. Charlotte Winslow may play. We're going to determine that during the course of this week, but I think Nella will take the lion's share of those reps.
Coach, going on the road, does it feel a little more comfortable now having that road winning drought out of the way now?
That was a hurdle, but this is a new challenge, and I don't know, there's something different between hopping on a bus and driving down to Fort Collins and hopping on a plane and going out to Reno. I've not been to Reno before, but I had a close friend that was part of the coaching staff there, and he said, boy, the fans are crazy, and so it'll be one of the tougher venues that we go into.
What did you like from your team during the bye week? You mentioned you had a pretty good practice Saturday. You also got some work in during the week. Did you like the focus and stuff, or what did you like out of your team from this past week?
Well, I was a little bit discouraged last Thursday. We had a lighter practice, and then some coaches went out. But these guys really responded well. We had a half-padded practice on Saturday and really got some hard-nosed work done. Thought they had a great focus and a great level of intensity, and that'll need to be carried through to today.
Craig, you talk about the maturation of this team. Is getting through this bye week and kind of realizing what's still ahead and maybe not patting themselves on the back, is that part of the maturation process for this
Well, it's
team?
always a concern you have. Complacency, and shoot, we've already matched the number of wins we had during our first year. We've certainly got some excellent conference wins, but every week and every opponent's different, and that's part of a maturation process that our guys recognize that we have a great opportunity out there, but there's so much balance in the Mountain West that every Saturday you need to be ready to play, and I was really pleased with how our team responded on Saturday. Their workmanlike attitude really was good.
Craig, here's a question that I hope you can answer with specifics. 4-2, and you move into the second half of the season, and expectations have risen. The fan base is wanting to see more now. Being in consideration of what you constantly say about, listen, yes, we're 4-2, but we're still a work in progress. We still have a long way to go here. How do you balance that feeling? You're almost a victim of your own success in a way, with a fan base now that is expecting more, 2 wins away from bowl eligibility, yet you know that this is a team that still needs to make considerable progress.
Well, I can tell you, yeah, we do. And if you watch the tape, there's so much out there. There's more points out there, and there's more defensive plays and special team plays. For us, when you're in this stage, you take one game at a time. And we've taken a hard look at Nevada. It was great to see the number of fans we had at the last game. How much expectation there is out there, I can't really tell you because we're just bunkered down doing our thing. There's great promise with this football team, and I said that at the beginning of the year. We've got more ability. Certainly, they're playing with more confidence. They're playing with a sharper edge, and that's going to need to be carried through this week. This is going to be a game that you win this one, then the next game just gets a little bit bigger. And so to balance off expectations, I don't know. We have expectations to play really well and have an opportunity to win. So that probably doesn't answer your question. You can look at all kinds of scenarios that are out there. We're doing everything we can to get to number 5.
But would your message to the fan base be, hey, be happy with where we are,
No.
be excited about it, but understand that we have a ways to go?
I'd be, you know what, thanks for coming out last game against Air Force. I know this one's on TV. Stay tuned. We've got a good football team. I don't think it's by chance where we're at, but we do have a ways to go.
You mentioned after this one, the next one, if you win this one, the next one gets much bigger, and that happens to be Boise State here. Have you ever had, in past instances, had to worry about teams overlooking somebody, especially with how young your team is, and with Boise State looming? Has that been a problem in the past with your experiences?
Not here at Wyoming.
Yeah.
I can tell you that. But no, in the past, whether I was working at Nebraska or North Dakota State, those were always issues. I think our football team, believe me, we're just trying to a certain degree, figure out how to beat the next team. So I have not sensed any feeling, okay, well, let's look way down the road. I think our players they're pleased with where they're at, but they recognize you watch that tape, there's a lot of work out there for us to do.
Correct. Can you comment at all on, you mentioned the coaches have been out recruiting. I know you can't talk specifically, but in regard to some of the feedback that you're getting from potential recruits and the vision that you're putting forward for this football team as you go out and you see these kids?
Well, we're really pleased. We laid a lot of groundwork, way last spring, and then working summer camps and satellite camps, and we've been in touch with a lot of players. We're starting to garner more verbal commitments, and there's a lot of guys that are right on the edge right now that I think they're getting ready to make some decisions. So certainly having 4 wins kind of dispels, okay, these coaches are saying all the right things, but what's the trajectory of the program? We believe the arrows are pointing up. We've gotten really good feedback. I think that's worked hand in glove with the with the forthcoming of the groundbreaking of the high performance training center. So all those things are moving the right direction.
And how about the coaching staff? When you guys meet collectively, in comparison to the last 2 years and now seeing some of the fruits of the labor rising to the surface and some of the hard work and commitment, as you guys meet as a coaching staff, it must be a good feeling that you all have together collectively that what you brought here is now starting to show itself to be something that can work.
Well, that's true. Deep embedded in all of our convictions was you're starting to see the fruits of what our vision was, and now what's encouraging, applied to the man hours and the resources to be able to go out and spread our message. It's been encouraging to see what kind of response we're getting.
Coach, when you have a player like Carl who's going to miss an extended period of time, or even guys like Trevor who's already been out for the whole season, are there certain challenges with keeping players like that engaged when they know they're not going to see the field for the rest of the year?
Well, from the very first thing you're always concerned about with all our players, particularly when they get injured, though, is just how they're doing academically. It's been my experience in the past that when you're a competitive athlete and all of a sudden now you're not out there with your friends, with your teammates, and you're not going in your routines, that typically, you go through a time where your grades fall off. And so we'll stay closely in touch with Carl. I know his surgery, I believe, is coming up this Wednesday. Hopefully that's going to come out with a positive outcome. He's got a positive outlook right now. Trevor has as well. But that's one of the things we do as coaches, is really stay in tune with these guys.
Greg, at the midway point, I know we've asked a lot about the receivers and other guys involved. Seems like guys like CJ and James have been getting more involved. Are you pleased with, we kind of know what you're getting from Tanner and Jake. Are you pleased where some of those other guys are coming in as we're at the midway point?
Right. We're really encouraged. Austin is another guy to throw in the mix. Austin Conway, James Price, CJ Johnson. Those guys are going to be the guys that are going to have meaningful roles. They already have, but what they're showing is they're showing more and more ability to go out and play. Joe Parker's been in the mix some as well, but certainly James made a really nice catch last Saturday, and CJ has as well. And Austin has been a really great, injection of his athleticism to do some things a lot of the other guys haven't been able to do.
Correct. Two things. Is it acceptable at this point in terms of how much you have had the offense, the tight end, involved in the offense? Would you like to see that upped a little bit more? And secondly, in regard to the running backs, offensively, your scheme doesn't throw a lot to running backs out of the backfield. Is that by design?
Well, answering your first question, we'd like to involve the tight ends more. It was great to see Jacob come up with a big touchdown play. He's got a lot of ability, and to utilize his skills particularly is going to be important. We've thrown the ball in the past to our running backs some, but we're not. It's more of a tailback type offense. Now we've thrown the ball to the fullback some, but the tailback position, other than checkdowns, we've not done a lot with. So, and that has been by design.
Coach, you mentioned kind of before, Carl, you guys have avoided any huge injuries this year. Is that sort of just by chance or something in the offseason that you guys might have done differently this year?
I think there's a couple things. One, there was more of a commitment by our players as far as their strength and conditioning. Certainly we've done more with concussions to try to prevent those. And then some of it's just going to be luck. And so I know everybody's confronted with injuries. Certainly losing Carl had an impact. It will have an impact, but that gives us great opportunity for another guy to come in his place.
Have you talked to the team coach about replacing a great player in Carl? Rarely, if ever, do you see one guy step into the breach to replace a great player like that. Usually it's a collective unit of players. Is that the message you've got to guys like Nella and
right?
Guys?
Well, I think a lot of it. Carl didn't come in. We saw really, a huge upside with Carl, but Carl didn't come in with all kinds of maybe preseason attention like Andrew Wingard.
Yeah.
And so what occurred during the course of the season, you saw Carl making more and more plays, particularly with sacks. And so I wouldn't say that there's a strong message. Oh my gosh, Carl Granderson's out. What are we going to do? I think a lot of guys recognize Carl's had a big contribution to our wins thus far, and everybody's going to need to pick up the pace. But it's not like there was a gasp in the room. Oh my gosh, Carl's gone.
Well, a couple weeks ago I asked you about the offensive line, and I said, is it fair to say that you feel that the offensive line has exceeded your expectations? You said yes. By contrast, is it fair to say that the defensive line, in terms of the rotational depth that you've seen through the first 6 games, that too has allowed you to feel a sense of a little bit more security in terms of replacing Carl and moving on into the season?
I wouldn't say I wouldn't characterize it like that. Where we are pleased, I think our defensive tackles are a little bit further along than what we thought. We haven't been getting knocked off the ball. Johanna Gaffan has done a good job. Chase Appleby's done a good job creating some havoc in the offensive backfield. I wouldn't say our ends were, with the exception of Carl, we're farther along. Josiah Hall has been a good, solid player, but the productivity probably has not exceeded my expectation.